Good morning, 3MW, and welcome to your Wednesday English lesson. Now, today we are going to be looking at a particular writing skill that authors use, particularly when characters are talking to each other in a text. Does anyone know what you call it? There's a word for it when characters are talking to each other. It begins with the letter D. See, dialogue. Okay, there's dialogue in the text. All that means is that you've got characters who are talking to each other, and the authors show this with a particular piece of punctuation. This punctuation lets the reader know that the characters are talking. Does anyone know what we call that punctuation? There are a couple of names for it actually. People are speaking. We need to show that people are speaking. So we use these things called speech marks, also known as inverted commas. So we're going to be looking at how we use speech marks in our writing to show that characters are talking. I'm just going to spin you around. We'll have a look at the screen. So today, our objective is to use speech marks. Okay. So here is a conversation between two characters in our text. Now, we've not met Hogarth yet, but we'll be meeting him very, very soon. And it says, Hogarth, number one, hello, Mr. Iron Man. And the Iron Man says, hello, the seagulls took my ears and I am hungry. And Hogarth says, we've got all the iron you want, all the food you want, if only you'll stop eating up the farms. And number four, but there is so much iron there, I want to eat it all. So we're going to look at how we can turn this dialogue, what's being spoken, into written speech, into what it would look like in a book if we were to read it, okay? What Ted Hughes would do. So to be successful today, we are going to make sure that speech marks are used at the start and the end of the speech. I will go through that with you shortly. Don't just use the word said. You could use different words like asked or boomed or whispered, okay? So you might have to think about how your character is talking and what they're saying. We're going to try and use some punctuation before the final speech marks. Today, I'm not too bothered if it's the right kind of punctuation, but we're trying to use some punctuation. And then if a new person starts to speak, we start a new line. Okay, so that's how we're going to be successful today. But let's have a look, first of all, how we actually use the speech marks. Now, many years ago, when I was in year 6, a lovely lady called Mrs. Brooks showed me a nice little cheat for this. So if you're not sure about what's being said and how to use speech marks, in your imagination, you can circle the words that are being spoken. Well, that's being said. Hogarth is saying this. Okay. And then what you can do is rub most of it out. And then you're left with some speech marks. Okay. Now, we don't normally write like that. In year 3, we do a little 66 at the start. 6 comes before 9. We do a little 99 at the end. Gosh, it's hard to do with a mouse. So that is what Hogarth is saying, okay? So the circle in your imagination is just to help you think about what the words are actually being said. So hello, that comes before the first word being spoken. Have you noticed? Got a capital letter. Hello, Mr. Iron Man. There's a full stop there. And then it ends the speech with the closing speech marks, the 99. Okay. Now, this particular bit of punctuation, this might not be a full stop, but don't worry about that just for the time being. Okay. Hello, Mr. Iron Man. And then we go to the Iron Man, and what does he say? He says, hello, the seagulls took my ears, and I am hungry. So we would circle what gets said again. Ooh. There it is. That's what's being spoken. That's the dialogue. Right, there are all the words that he's saying. Now we can get rid of most of the days. You get rid of most of this. But we leave a little bit for our speech punctuation. So that's where they go. I know that now. Now I can actually make them into proper speech marks. Okay. So before the first word, and then after. Oh, I did it wrong. It should be over here, shouldn't it? Edit that one. Okay. That's not the last word that he says. It doesn't stop with my, does he? So speech mark doesn't go there to end it. It's the end of that line, but it's not the end of what he says. He doesn't say, hello, the seagulls took my. He actually says, hello, the seagulls took my ears and I am hungry. So the closing speech marks go here, not there. Oh dear, must be very early in the morning. So there are our speech marks. That is where they go. Okay, let's carry on. Look at what the conversation has next. Hogarth replies, we've got all the iron you want, all the food you want, if only you'll stop eating up the farms. The Iron Man replies, but there is so much iron there, I want to eat it all. So that's how we turn some of our ideas of what's being spoken to into written speech. Okay, the 66 goes before the first word that the character says, and the 99 goes after the punctuation of the last word that the character says. All right, so we've changed that a little bit now because Hogarth said, hello, Mr. Iron Man. And it looks exactly the same, but if you look carefully, we've added something else here. All right, there's a bit of a spot the difference here. Hello, so the speech marks come before the first word that is spoken. We have a capital letter. Hello, Mr. Iron Man. That's his name. So look, we've got capital letters as well. Don't forget those. Hello, Mr. Iron Man. Now, it's not the end of the sentence. Okay, so we've used a comma before the character stops talking, because this whole thing is our sentence. The full stop actually goes ding 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 there. Okay, so let's just rub all this mess out and go through it one more time. Speech mark to say the character is about to speak. Then you've got your first word that is spoken by that character. It has a capital letter. Hello, Mr. Iron Man. Capital letters because it's his name. Okay. Now the speech is finished nearly. We have a little bit of punctuation there. It could be a comma, it could be a full stop, it could be an exclamation mark, it could be a question mark. It all depends on what is being said, but also where in the sentence your dialogue is taking place. We've finished our speech off with the 99, and then we tell the character who's spoken. Hello, Mr. Iron Man, said Hogarth. It might be shouted Hogarth or whispered Hogarth. It's up to you. Let's see what happens next, because we've got a new character talking, a different person talking. So we don't carry on here with our writing. We start a new line, okay, because it's a different character. Let's see what the Iron Man says now. Oh, there you go. He's about to speak. He's starting the speech off. Hello, capital letter, full stop. The seagulls took my ears, and I am hungry. Now look at this here. Look, we've got some punctuation before the speech marks. So he stopped talking. Got an exclamation mark because it says exclaimed the Iron Man. Tells the reader a little bit about what he says and how he's saying it. So we've got our opening speech marks to show the reader that the character is about to speak. We've got some punctuation at the end. At the start, we've got some punctuation before the end, the closing speech mark, the 99. And then we tell the reader who has spoken. Okay, they might not always do that. There's a little trick to that bit later on. Okay, that's sort of for another lesson. We've got all the iron you want, all the food you want. If only you'll stop eating up the farms, shouted Hogarth. Let's just check. Have we got all the things in the right place? Have a look, read through, make sure we've got everything we need. Do we have the opening speech marks? Yes, we do. We've got our first word with the capital letter. Brilliant. We've got our sentence. We've got another sentence. If you'll stop eating up the farms. The word farms is the last word he says. We've got some punctuation before the speech ends. We've got the closing speech marks. We also know how the character has spoken and shouted Hogarth. Anyone see something a little bit wrong there? Yeah, look, they've got a comma here. Now, there's nothing after this one, is there? So actually, we could change that around. To a full stop. There's a typing mistake there, isn't it? Right. But there is so much iron there, said the Iron Man. I want to eat it all. Now, this one's a little bit different because in our first three examples, it was speech, said Hogarth, full stop. Speech, and here's the speech, way, exclaimed the Iron Man, and full stop. And the same for this example. But this one's a bit different because the speech, I'll circle it for you, it's sort of been, what the character is saying has sort of been cut in two. It's been split up into parts. Okay? All right, so here, look, but there is so much iron there, comma, as we said before, we've got our closing speech marks, we've got our opening speech marks, we've got said, the Iron Man, we've got a full stop now to show that it's the end of our first sentence. Then the speech carries on. It's got another opening speech mark. I want to eat it all, full stop, and then another speech marks there. The author here hasn't said the Iron Man again, because the reader should know it's the same character talking. It's carried on. Okay, there's not a new line. It's just flowed on in one go. All right. So let's just move on and find out what you need to do. On Dojo, there's going to be a sheet where you've got a couple of pictures like this, and you've got some speech bubbles that we need to throw away and change these speech marks here, so these speech bubbles, into dialogue using speech marks. So Iron Man says, I am very hungry and I want to eat metal. So you have got to change that into a sentence, written dialogue, telling the reader who's talking using the correct punctuation, and then you need to show Hogarth replying to the Iron Man. Okay, so why don't you give that a go? Pause the video, give it a try, and I'll go through and we'll see how we get on together. Okay, so get pausing. Right, so that should hopefully have looked something like this. Open speech marks. I am very hungry and I want to, to eat metal. Exclamation mark there, isn't it? I am very hungry and I want to eat metal, said, Iron Man. Now that's the end of our first sentence there. So I can put my full stop in. Okay. Now it's Hogarth. So will I start here with Hogarth? Nah. New captain talking. Need a new line. Okay. We need our tractors and machines. Hang on. I have an idea. Right, now what am I going to do here? Full stop and speech marks? No, I'm not finishing my sentence. I'm going to put a comma in. I have an idea, comma, finish my writing, my speech, sorry, replied Hogarth. Something along those lines, guys. Now, in year 3, it doesn't really matter about the speech inside the speech marks. Don't panic. The main thing is that you have got the starting speech mark and the closing speech mark in the right place. All right, that is the main thing for year 3. But let us aim high and try and remember some punctuation inside those speech marks. Okay. Now have a go at turning this dialogue into written speech. I hope you like it here. It's so much better than eating all the iron from the farms. That's Hogarth talking. Thank you for all of this iron. I'm always so hungry. Is the Iron Man. Have a practice of that one. See how you get on. I'm going to fast forward though to this link here, because if you get stuck, then you can either watch this clip back of me waffling on, or you can go to the BBC website and you should see, not that one, this video clip for you to watch here. All right, it's quite a nice little short clip for you all. Now, your task today is to go on Dojo, and you will see a file that's got a couple of pictures like this in. Now, some have got words in for you to change, just like I did down the bottom here, into dialogue. There are other pictures where the speech marks, sorry, the speech bubbles, not speech marks, the speech bubbles are empty. If you're struggling, then that is for you. If you can print it off, that's for you just to write in speech bubbles first what they're going to say, and then you can change it from the speech bubble into the written dialogue. Okay, so this bit is just to get your ideas for what the characters are going to say, and then you can change it into written dialogue. If you've not got a printer, that's okay, because what you can do is just very quickly just draw a couple of stickmen. There's the Iron Man. Okay, I'll put I, so it's the Iron Man. Do another stickman for Hogarth, or another character, and then just do your speech bubble. Start it off first. I wouldn't do the whole bubble because you never fit all the words in. Hello, I am hungry. So just do what the character is going to say as a quick sketch. Whoop, do your speech bubble around it. Start it off, and then let's reply. That is, whoops, he's shouting there, isn't he? That is okay. We have lots you can eat. So if you're struggling, this is a nice little way of just thinking about what the characters are going to say before you start writing it in dialogue, okay, as written speech. Once you've done your little sketch, you can then think about, okay, how's that going to look? Open speech marks. Hello, I am hungry. Whoops. Said Iron Man. Let me reply. That is okay. We have lots you can eat. Comma. Speech marks. Replied. Hogarth. Okay. Now, if you're feeling really clever, really fancy, then you can try something a little bit special where you can split the speech. Okay, so rather than saying this bit, you could change it. But I will leave that and see if anyone can have an experiment and see what they come up with. Okay, so that is what we're up to today. Good luck with it. Use the clips again if you need to. Post you, today's you can't see me. Post your work up onto Dojo. I'm looking forward to seeing it. All right, you take care, guys. All the best. Good luck.